trying to wrap up last week with the win against Lafayette. I was really proud of our team. We had talked all week. One of the challenges that we had was to play that game with some confidence, and it's very difficult sometimes when you haven't won a lot of games to have confidence. And we've talked a lot about, do you win and gain confidence, or do you gain confidence and then win? And for this football team right now, I think that confidence has been built over the last 8 months, which I think is a real testament to Kurt Hester, to these players, to how good they want to be and how hard that they've worked. But I think this confidence that they played with Saturday, which was, I thought, was one of the keys to this game, has been developed over the year. And like I said, that's a testament to these players and their leadership. I thought we played with confidence. I thought we played incredibly physical. I thought, especially defensively and with the special teams, we really set the tone physically. But I thought overall this team just competed. We didn't do everything right. We didn't do everything perfect. Have a lot of things that we have to clean up, and watching the film, and the players realize that we can be much better. And I have said all along, we're a work in progress. We continue to play a faceless opponent, and that we have to play against ourselves right now with many of the mistakes that we made. You know, we came out into that game, we had a very slow start offensively. In the first quarter, we had 4 of our 5 penalties were all in the first quarter, all against the offense. 4 of them, or 3 of those 4 in the first quarter, were procedure penalties, or pre-snap, what we call pre-snap penalties, whether it be not being able to hear the quarterback, making the call, just communication things, and it looked really sloppy early. And I thought the defense did an incredible job of keeping us in that game early, because we gave them really good field position to start that game. And then Kenneth Dixon was able to spring that long run, which I thought was excellent blocking. I thought Josh Gaston did a great job sealing the backside linebacker. Kenneth made the safety miss, and he was off to the races. I didn't realize that 15 seconds he set 4 records as I sit here and listen to longest run, longest play, conference, stadium record, and everything else. But I was even a little bit surprised it took you 15 seconds to go 100 yards, because 15 seconds ran off the clock on that play. But it was a great play. It was a great momentum play for our football team, and I think did help the confidence. As much as we had been struggling by shooting ourselves in the foot, we were making about 12 yards, but we had to make 15 because of the penalties we kept getting and putting ourselves in punting situation. But even with a slow start, to put out 533 yards of offense in that game, to average 7.8 yards per play, and to put up 41 points as an offense, pretty much in 3 quarters, I was really proud of the way this football team played. We had big plays. There were 5 big plays that went for 287 yards for us as an offense, resulting in 2 touchdowns, which is something that we have talked about, something that we have worked on, something that we have coached and really focused on, having the ability to make more big plays, because a year ago we really struggled in the big play department. And I thought it was really nice to see the running game with Kenneth rushing for 200 yards and averaging almost 15 yards a carry, to see Cody Sokol throw for 300 yards, and the way he's managing the game, and 22 of 33 for 67%. The way Sterling Griffin and Paul Turner are playing. Paul Turner made his emergence felt, and I think Sterling Griffin is a completely different player than he was a year ago. Having the opportunity to be around him for the last 5 of his 6 years that he's played, really, to see him after his freshman year, he had a dislocated ankle, missed all off season. His next year, he had a torn ACL, missed the entire off season. So, and then when he came here this year, this is his first true full year that he hasn't had an injury. And I think it's really showing in his development during the off season. I think he's a completely different player than he was a year ago. And then you add guys like Paul Turner. It's given us more of that big play threat on the perimeter. I think the 2 inside guys continue to play really well, and Hunter Lee and Trent Taylor. I think those 4 guys are really making up a good mix right now and playing really good football for us, and really starting to develop a chemistry with Cody. I was asked about, we didn't play a lot of receivers in the game, and that's one of the challenges we have, is to continue to bring Sanford C along, to continue to bring the Marcus Gaines and some of the younger guys along, so we can get a little bit more depth and play a little bit more guys in the receiving game. I think Kenneth and Blake played really well. It's nice to see these fullbacks in front of them blocking as well as they are, and Marlon Seats and Ricky Jones are doing a nice job. And I thought up front, I thought Kirby Wixon played very well as a junior college transfer this year. I think Brown and Bell, the two tackles, had an excellent game for us. I think Trey Carter played well inside. Brunson played as hard as he could, but there was a little bit of emotion involved with him. I thought he was probably a little bit too emotional, which is probably where some of those penalties came in early for us. But I thought offensively we really played a complete football game outside of the first quarter with some of the mishaps and some of the over-energy penalties that showed up early. Defensively, we did exactly what we set out to do. I said in the press conference we're going to have to stop the run, and you can't give up big plays. And I thought Manny and the staff, the entire defensive staff, put together a great game plan. Manny, known as a guy that likes to bring pressure from everywhere. We really just said we're going to try and shut down the inside gaps. We're not going to give up the big play. We played a lot of zone coverage in that game to not give up the big play. And we said, you know what, we're going to make the quarterback pull it to beat us. And he did. 13 times he pulled it, but we were content to say that if he was going to run the ball, we didn't think they could beat us. The two we were trying to stop was Harris and McGuire. And I thought the defense really did a good job. We talked about how physical they needed to play, and I thought the defense really did a nice job of keeping them out of the end zone. 14 points came in the final 10 minutes of the game. And a lot of those were when we put our twos in the game. So for the most part, when you look at it, I think it was about 41-7 at one point. And I thought defensively we created 3 turnovers. We tackled. We really did. We kept the ball in front of us and said, we're going to make you snap it again. And I thought it was an excellent game plan, and I thought they executed it excellently, because really at the end of the day what we were trying to do was keep them out of the end zone. And to hold an explosive team like Lafayette to 7 points, I thought they did a really nice job. The kicking game, the kicking is still a little bit of a struggle, the way we're punting the ball and kicking the ball off. Kickoffs that are landed on the 12-yard line aren't acceptable. We've got to get the ball deeper than that. I thought when we kicked the ball to the goal line, our cover team did a great job. We had 5 tackles inside the 25-yard line. Jabari Pruitt set the tone right from the beginning with a big hit on the kickoff. I thought some guys are really playing well for our special teams. But overall, I thought it was a complete game. Not that we did everything right, but we continued to compete for 60 minutes, and we played physical and we played hard. And that gives us a great opportunity to look at the film, see where we are and what we need to improve in getting ready for this game. I didn't talk about some of the individuals defensively, but I think Houston Bates and Dora at the ends continue to play really well for us. McKinney played well inside, had a sack, a number of tackles inside. Aaron Brown, who is a walk-on, who has been a defensive end, was on the scout team a week ago, was in our Victors Club this week. He stepped in and I thought played an excellent football game for us. He did a nice job. We had 5 linebackers that were in the Victors Club, played really well. Tony Johnson, huge 4th down stop, was involved in 2 of the turnovers, deflected the one that Xavier Woods intercepted and scored on, and had a great strip from Harris pulling the ball out and creating another one. I thought he played really well, as did Xavier Woods, Kentrell Bryce, Levander Liggins. I thought all those guys played really well for us defensively. But I guess I keep saying this, we're a work in progress, and I think we're coming. We're making some inroads, and with the attitude this team has and the hard work that they're putting into it, understanding we're not where we want to be. We got to keep going. We got to keep making progress. But really proud of the attitude of this team and the way they're working. This team's a lot of fun to be around.
What are the challenges this week, considering it's a short week and also you're coming off an emotional win?
Well, the challenges, obviously, and I said this again to the team last night, one of the big challenges is the short week. Playing our 3rd game on the road in 13 days is a challenge. Playing on the road is hard. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot. The team gets back at, you get back at 2 in the morning on a Saturday night. You got to practice again Sunday because you're into a short week. We got back late after Oklahoma. We're going to get back late after this one. And North Texas right now has the advantage of they were done at about 3 o'clock, and they also played at home. They got about a 12-hour head start, and I know that doesn't seem like much, but in a short week, that's everything. 12-hour difference of rest, 12 hours difference of game preparation. And so we know it's going to be a challenge, but they didn't call us yesterday and say, oh, and this week you're going to play North Texas. We knew this game was on the schedule for a long time, and we've been talking about the challenge that we had for the first 3 weeks. And two key games in our season is last week and this week are two key games in what the outcome of this season is going to play. And we've talked about the importance of these two games. And that's why going to play the way we did last week was a great mark from this football team and how focused they are and they understand the challenges, and we're real honest with them. We don't try and sugarcoat it. We're not trying to dress it up. We're not trying to bait them into something. Told them it's going to be hard. We're going to have to put on pads today. 2 days ago, it wasn't even 48 hours, they were playing in a game, and it's going to be physical and their body's going to be sore, but we got to put on pads today and go start getting ready for North Texas and letting them know why we're doing what we're doing. But that is definitely going to be one of the challenges that we have, and then we have to travel on Wednesday and play the game on Thursday. The other thing that's going to make this week interesting is the team we're playing. Completely different than the first two we played from what they do on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. When you look at their offense, they are run-oriented. They are going to get bigger than you are, whether that's 2 tight ends, 2 fullbacks, unbalanced. They are going to find a way to run the power play. That's what they do. They're going to find the way to come off the ball. They're very well coached. I great respect for their entire staff. I know quite a few of them. Have had the opportunity to coach with some of them. Coach Patrick, their new D-line coach, Canales, their offensive coordinator. I know a lot of guys on that staff, and they are very well coached. They're very disciplined. They're very simple in what they do and their structure. You know exactly where they're going to be, but you still have to block them. And I think they know what they want to do. They're extremely good at it. We rushed, I think it was 24 times for 39 yards a year ago. We averaged about 1.8 or 1.9 yards per carry a year ago against this football team. They're a very physical team. They're hard-nosed, and it's going to be a challenge for us. But they're going to make it a pphysical game. And if you don't, they're going to beat you up pretty bad, like they did SMU last week with a 48. Was it 48-6? 43-6, and that 6 points came on the last play of the game. It was a touchdown pass in the end zone, and kind of like ours, they didn't have the point after try. But it was really a 43-0 football game when you look at it. But they are incredibly physical, very, very well coached, very disciplined. They come after you, they play downhill, but they are very fundamentally sound. I think, with them beating us here at home last year, 28-13, our players understand the challenge we have on the field and with the short week as well.
I ask this only because I don't think necessarily too many people expected it to be a 28-point game either way. But on Saturday night, what was the real team we saw? Was it you guys that were able to force 3 turnovers and rack up as much offensive yardage, or maybe ULL isn't as good as what people thought?
No, I don't know. That's hard for me to answer. I do think this. I thought it certainly wasn't our best game. I can't sit here and say, wow, it was all clicking. Because when you look at it in the first quarter, especially having 4 penalties in the first quarter, we couldn't get anything going. We were out of rhythm. We couldn't get anything going. But I think it's more of this football team. I think the growth of this football team, this is not the same football team we had a year ago. All of a sudden you look out at receiver, and as I talked about earlier, you have a different Sterling Griffin. You have a Paul Turner out there. You have Kenneth Dixon with a line in front of him and a fullback in front of him and a tight end that can secure the edge so they can't just take him away. And he has a chance to get moving downhill and be able to run north and south. It's part of kind of a philosophical change that we've made offensively. It's having a new quarterback in there and Cody Sokol and what he's doing for us and the way he's managing the game. We talked a lot about turnovers being one of our Achilles heel a year ago, and yet he's thrown 1 interception in about 65 or 70 attempts. He's doing a very good job. He plays heady. He plays smart. We said that's one of the reasons that we went with him is because of his maturity, and I really like what he's doing and the way the leaders are leading this football team. Mitchell Bell, all of a sudden, is a senior. Trey Carter's a senior. Greenwald's a senior. I think we've got more size, more toughness, and more athleticism in our offensive line. I think we're a much better offensive football team, and I'll say the same thing is true on defense. In trying to put your culture together and what you're trying to do, sometimes you've got to bring in new faces. And we've talked a lot about all the new faces and the inexperience early in the year, but I also think that's going to give us a chance to be the type of football team we want to be by the middle of the year.
I talked about the importance of last week and this week, the games. What would 2-1 in these first 3 games mean for the confidence of this team going forward?
I think it'll help a lot. We we don't look in, what if we're 2-1? What if we're 1-2? What, you know what I mean? We don't so much look forward as much that way, as much as we kind of put your nose to the grindstone and say, what do we got to do to get ready for this game? As a head coach, when you look back and go, wow, if you could be 2-1, that would be nice. I mean, we still got to make sure that we stay kind of humble and hungry with our battle cry to say that we got to come in here and then play a rivalry game against a Northwestern State where there's a lot of history in that game, and they're going to come in here, I mean, with their hair on fire, ready to play that game and trying to win. And then we got to go to Auburn, and then you've got a UTEP team that is playing really well right now, is playing really strong, and some of the things they're doing. And what we said was we're going to try and get to those first 6 games, the first half of the season, and then we get an open date. And then let's take a deep breath. Let's look at where we are and look at what kind of football team we can have. And if we could find a way to start 2-1, that would definitely show very positive signs of marked improvements of where we're trying to go.
You say North Texas, they like to run the ball. That's what they do. Well,
Yes.
in 2 weeks, they've almost shown the inability to throw the ball.
Right.
Do you think that's part of it? I mean, surely they want to throw the ball successfully.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to have balance, but right now when you look at what they do well, that's what they do well, and that's what they're going to make you stop. They're still going to get in some other formations. They're still going to sprint the quarterback out. You can't – I think if whoever has the chalk last normally can win, you know, when you start drawing X's and O's up on the board. And so I think they do enough to keep you off balance so you can't just say, we just got to stop this play. Because they're going to give you a load of formations. They're going to give you different formations. But right now they're huge up front. They've got a 360-pound guard. They're 330 pounds at tackle. I mean, they're big. They're physical. They come off the ball. And even you watch them against Texas. I mean, their running back runs it up in there. They play 3 running backs. One's a transfer from Purdue, who's running extremely hard. He runs it up in there. He falls forward, and it's 2nd and 5. You know, I mean, he gains 5 yards, and that's against a Texas team that's very talented and has that same type of size and girth. So it's going to be, they're going to make us play in a phone booth. I mean, that's the game that they want. They want you to play in a phone booth, and they want to make it a physical game, and they do it very well. And that's why they're having the success that they're having. And like I said, they've done a great job with that program and got great respect for Coach McCarney.
Given that fact that they want to run the ball, how important is it this week then to get off to a fast start and maybe get a lead so they're playing from behind?
Well, and I think it's going to be important. It's still going to be a 60-minute game, and I think, yeah, that would certainly help. I don't think it's going to change their identity and what they're going to do. I think as this season goes on, they're learning what they can do, and they're highlighting those things. And that's what I think we'll get more and more of that. But if you could find a way to get a lead and make them play a little bit more with the passing game, it would certainly be better than watching those big guys running downhill and coming at you. But I know we're going to get that. I mean, that's something that we're going to see.
As multiple as you've been thus in 2 games, how hard is it, do you think, from a defensive perspective on the other side to prepare for you guys?
Manny might be the better one to ask that question to than me, because I don't get to prepare for us very often. When I look at it, I mean, one of the challenges we've had when we changed the kind of philosophical change of this offense was to have some variance, to do some different things, to have the ability to get in a tight end or 2 backs and have a fullback. And the challenge was there weren't any here. And all of a sudden you look at a guy like Marlon Seats and the walk-on Ricky Jones, who earned a scholarship, Josh Gaston, who's come in as a tight end. I think what it does is it definitely gives us more options. So you just don't get in the game and say, okay, they're rushing the passer, and you can put game plans together to give you the best opportunity. We went to Oklahoma. We huddled every play. We snapped the ball with 5 seconds or under on almost every snap. And then we came to Lafayette, and we didn't huddle at all. We went to the line. We tried to go quicker. We tried to up the tempo with what we're doing. I still don't think we're good enough at that, but we'll continue to get better. But I think having the ability to do both makes a defense have to sit down and say they got to spend practice time doing both. They got to prepare for our 21 packages, our bigger packages, but also for some of our spread stuff.
I kind of asked you this Saturday, but seeing all the big plays that y'all had in offense, how refreshing was that compared to last year when it seemed like every single week we would talk about the lack of big plays?
Agreed. And I think it's a lot of the new faces, you know, as we talked about Paul Turner having that huge play, a new Sterling, Cody, some of the throws he made down the field to make big plays, the offensive line, the long run that we ran from the 1-yard line, I said this Saturday, was the same play we ran on 4th and 1 that we didn't make it. we just came back and executed it a lot better down there, and it resulted in a big play. And I think it's part of this offense taking some pride in everybody doing your job, and then being able to put some people in places to give them a chance to make big plays, and these players are making them. I mean, we can diagram the play to Paul up all we want, but Cody threw an unbelievable ball right over the outreached arms of the defender. Paul Turner went up, made a fantastic catch, made a guy miss, and all of a sudden it's a 60-yard gain. So I think some of it is the personnel and a little bit of it's the scheme, but I would say that credit goes more to these players and what they're able to make happen right now. But it is definitely something that we badly needed as an offense. We scored 16 or less points 8 times last year. They happen to be our 8 losses. And we've talked about it to our offense and how important it is that we grow and develop. And if we want to be somewhere other than where we were last year, we have got to get to where we can put more points up offensively. And there's 2 ways to do that. One is to make big plays for points, and the other is to be incredibly methodical and disciplined and being able to drive the ball right down the field. We are not there yet. We are not the type of team that can methodically drive the ball down the field. We're striving to get there, and that's why I say we got to continue to get better with some of the things we're doing. We got to continue to get more consistent. And when you have a chance to do both, you have a chance to be a pretty good offensive football team. So it was encouraging to see those plays Saturday.
Were you surprised the jump that Cody made from week 1 to week 2?
No, I won't say surprised, because I thought in the second half Cody played really well. I thought in the second half he played really well. Cody's probably his own worst critic. After the game, it's like, God, on that 3rd and 1, I can't believe I threw it, and I did. You know what I mean? He's not saying, Coach, that post was pretty, wasn't it? He's talking about the mistakes that he made, and that's what I think you have to do to continue to get better. I really think Cody Sokol has a chance to be an outstanding quarterback, and I say that because I think he has talent. I think he's tough as he can be. He stood in there and took a shot early in that game with the helmet right up under the chin, standing in the pocket, throwing the ball to Trent Taylor for one of the big plays early. And I think he's tough. I think he's smart. I think he's a leader. I think he's a team player. I think he's competitive as he can be. I think he has all the intangibles to be a fantastic quarterback. And being smart and being able to throw the ball accurately are probably 2 of the most important out of all of those. And I'm not surprised. I think he still has to eliminate a play or 2 in managing the game, but I think Cody Sokol has a chance to be pretty special.
Utilizing the middle of the field, how does that help the offense going forward?
Well, you trust him enough to throw the ball over the middle of the field, because if you don't trust your quarterback, you try and stay away from the middle, because that's where a lot of interceptions happen. You know what I mean? You overthrow it, it's picked. You underthrow it, a linebacker steps inside of it. But I trust Cody. I trust him to stand back there and to make the read and to make the throws. And we've got some pretty good guys when you start looking at Trent and Hunter, who are pretty good mismatches against linebackers to give you the ability to do some things. But it definitely helps you, because then people can't just double team your outside receivers like they were able to last year.
But Trent and Hunter, can anybody cover them? Depending on
We got 10 more games. We're going to find out.
Trent couldn't be covered by the Sooners or last week by the Cajuns.
Well, I think when you look at, people are going to have to start to do things to try and defend them. You got to put 2 on them. You got to put 1 inside and 1 outside. It's very difficult with kind of the relationship and the understanding that Cody and him have right now, that when that linebacker's inside, Cody's throwing the ball before he breaks. They're in sync right now. They're really in sync and doing some good things inside, because they're both very intelligent, very smart players. But as this year goes on, you're going to start to see more double teams there, which is why all of a sudden a Sterling's going to get singled, a Paul's going to get singled, where last year you had more 3 over 2 on all of our outside receivers is what we got a lot of, is what people played to us. It's a little bit harder to do that now if you're able to run the ball, change some things up formation-wise, to be able to get those guys in one-on-one situations where they can have a chance to make a play. But we'll see, and I'm sure people are going to start to say, okay, we got to, in these down and distance situations, we're going to have to bracket this guy inside, the number 3 receiver. We're going to have to do, and people will start doing that. Like I said, whoever has a pen last wins, and people will start to see some of the things that we're doing, and we have to have enough offense that we can counter that.
Getting back Carlos and Eddie this week,
Yes.
What's that going to mean for your offense?
We'll see. We'll see. It's nice to have them back. They're 2 guys that coming into camp, we're going to play a key part for us. And I think, all of a sudden we had to move a Hunter Lee to the other inside receiver that Eddie Johnson was playing, with Connor Smith doing what he's doing and the way that he's been playing lately. We feel like that now gives us a little bit more balance of 4 guys inside where we have a little bit more depth, and we will definitely play more people. And then with Carlos being added to the mix, kind of gives you 3 outside receivers you really trust, that you feel like have a chance and the ability to make some of those big plays that we talked about. But taking 2 of your top 6 away as your receivers is one of the reasons that we've only been playing 4 receivers the last 2 weeks, and having the opportunity to have them back this week, I think will definitely add some depth and give us an opportunity to play a couple more people.
Last one.
Coach, this guy over here, who would you compare him to? I know you've been at this for quite a while. Second part of that question, I know you got some pull at ESPN. Could you not give him a little bit more airtime in a 99-yard run?
Yeah, I can't believe he didn't get a helmet sticker for that. I make a couple phone calls on that. Kenneth is he's unique in a lot of ways, and I say that because when you look at his combination of talents, when you look at his speed, but yet his size, you look at how physical he is, but I think his biggest attribute is his tenacity and his passion. The competitor that he is and the way that he competes when he has that ball under his arm, you have to tackle him. You can't hit him, you have to tackle him. And he's got great balance, he's got great vision, he's got super hands out of the backfield, but I think he's so competitive, and I think that's his biggest attribute. I've been very blessed to be around some great running backs. When you start looking at the Chris Johnsons, and I don't think he's as fast as Chris, but he's got a lot more size and a lot of other attributes that Chris doesn't have. I look at a guy like Ricky Waters, that I had an opportunity to coach, who played for so many years out with the 49ers in Seattle, who I think is a very talented player, but probably Kenneth, that would be the closest one that comes to mind. But I think Kenneth is Kenneth, and I know it's hard for me to say he's like him and him and him, because I think he's got a little bit of all of them. But I think what makes Kenneth is he's so unique, and I don't think he needs to try and be anybody else. He needs to be the best Kenneth Dixon he can be, which I think is pretty stinking good, and I'm glad he's on our side.